Good afternoon, my people. What is going on? It is your main man, Charles Tank Harris, the founder and chief visionary officer of the financial literacy platform Wealth Our Way, where our motto is wealth is not only for the wealthy. I welcome each and every one of you to episode 139, 3 tips for raising money conscious kids. And that's a good level of conscious, not just thinking about money, but in a good way, understanding their financial literacy. But before we get into all that, I got to practice the attitude of gratitude and say thank you, thank you, thank you to each and every one of you who are here with me as I stream live across the Facebook Wealth Our Way page and the YouTube Wealth Our Way network page. Please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube page. Also want to give that Wild Nation salute to all the members of Wealth Our Way Nation who watch this program overnight, over the weekend, in its pre-recorded form, wherever they can squeeze 15 minutes of financial literacy in. And then a heartfelt how are you to the good folks on the Life 101 platform who listen to the audio recording of this very here program. With that being said, was last night dope? Shout out to my guy, Tracy Lee, my GC bro, my just brother in arms in life, for blessing us with an hour-long conversation on how to continuously keep moving forward in this race of life that we talk about every day. I know I hit that fine line every day between financial advice and life advice, because in my world, the two are always intertwined. Everything that you do is worth doing for $1. And everything that we seem to be engaged in and want to partake in costs $1 or more. So it's always great to attack things with an understanding as to how you can get your financial literacy wrapped around the major decisions, the major events, the major happenings that will go on in your life. With that being said, for those of us who are parents, those of us who wish to be parents, or those of us who have kids in our lives through marriage, through siblings, through adoption, any way, shape, or form, mentorship, I hear all the time, and when we got off air last night, Brother Tracy and I were talking about how to make sure that the next generation and the generation after that, kids in general, get an appreciation and an understanding for financial literacy. Because as the saying goes, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. It is so much easier when you have as a baseline, your platform is understanding how money works, to make sure that throughout your life, you carry on that mindset. I've told you guys before, I was taught in sales that it's 6 times more expensive to get a new client than to keep a client. There's an old saying, an ounce of prevention beats a pound of cure. What all that means is that if we start with a foundation that is solid and points us in the right direction, it's much, much easier to maintain that direction rather than a third the way, halfway through, almost toward the end of life, trying to make positive changes. Now, don't worry, you're in the right place. If you just try to make a change today, I got you. But when we talk about our seeds and our future, starting them off on the right foot is so much more of an advantage than trying to teach them later on, or as I am learning from myself personally, as well as friends, helping adult children guide themselves through life. Because even as a financial planner, I've shared this with you before, my kids don't hang on every word I say and listen to everything I say. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter that I have clients who are multimillionaires and pay me a lot of money for my advice. To my clients, I'm just dad. I'm a pain in the butt. I always know everything. I want to tell them everything. And they don't always follow my advice. I've had my own kids tell me they heard financial advice from somebody else that they're more likely to take than from me, just because they don't want to hear from me. So don't get me wrong. I understand that teaching your own kids about things may be hard. It may be hard to get them to follow your advice, but I promise you they're listening. More important than listening, I promise you they're watching. So the financial habits that you create and exude for yourself will be passed down to these children that you have influence over. But with that being said, I came up with typical Tank fashion, 3 tips to help you raise financially conscious kids. And when I say Tank Fashion, you know, I fancy myself, especially after having a great MC like Tracy Lee on, I fancy myself as a clever rhyming type of dude. So I made the 3 tips rhyme so that you would have no problem remembering them. The first tip is mind. It is about teaching your kids to be conscious of money. When I started Wealth Our Way, I had a conversation with Wild family member Brian Revelle, affectionately known to me as Drew. And the conversation went, as so many conversations before go in our community, we didn't talk about this at home. We didn't talk about this over the kitchen table. They don't teach this in school. So the very first tip to raising a financially conscious kid is putting this information at the forefront of their mind. When your child asks you for a new pair of sneakers, whether you're going to buy the sneakers or not is not important. Explaining to them that these sneakers cost money, that there are different companies that make sneakers, talking to them about the company behind the brand that they want to buy. Tip number 1 is keeping it at the front of their mind, making them aware. I talk to my children all the time, and it's not just about money. I tell them that intelligence, in my humble opinion, is made up of 2 big components. Component 1 is what we think about when we think of money, think of intelligence. It's the ability to process information cognitively. But the other component of intelligence is being mentally aware and present. If you're not paying attention, it makes it that much harder for you to be smart. You can't apply your smart if you're not paying attention. Car accidents happen not because people don't know how to steer cars. It's not even because they don't know how to steer cars at high speeds. It's because their attention normally goes somewhere else other than the task at hand. Bang, there's an accident. Make your kids conscious mentally of the things that money does. Why are we going to the movies on the weekends at 1 o'clock as opposed to 8 o'clock? Is it because your kids will not just come up with the answer. Tell your kids about matinees. Tell your kids about coupons, deals. I'm not saying be frugal. I am frugal when it comes to teaching financial education, but I know a lot of people will tune out when you think you're telling them everything to get wealthy is about penny pinching and giving up stuff and saving. I'm not saying that. I have clients that make tens of millions of dollars a year. That's not an exaggeration. And they are still conscious over $1. So with that being said, put money at the forefront of your children's mind. Have conversations about money. Show them money periodicals. The Wall Street Journal. The first time I saw the Wall Street Journal, I was in 8th grade. Changed my life. I didn't even understand everything I was looking at, but it let me know that there was a lot more for me to learn in the space of money. So mind is number 1. 2, grind. Mind is number 1. Grind is number 2. What do I mean by grind? I think y'all get it. Work ethic. We live in a generation right now where, in my opinion, work ethic is not to the levels that it used to be. However, here's the great thing about one of the great things about having children, getting a younger person's perspective. My oldest daughter, as you guys know, she's editor-in-chief at Temple Law Review. She's doing her thing, but she considers the grind to be very different than what I consider the grind to be. She lives that axiom of work smart, not hard. I just think muscle, muscle, muscle. Keep working. Get up at 5 a.m. Work till 11 p.m. Don't let anybody leave the office before you. They laugh at that nowadays. Now it's about multiple streams of income. I just was working with a woman. I call her a client, and I don't use names, but if she's watching, she knows who she is. But it was more some like pro bono work that I was doing to be helpful. And one of the biggest things that this client wanted was to get a new car. Their car was on its last legs. They needed a new car. I was in there performing surgery, trying to get the budget to do this and do that to make it work. And it just was not coming up to get the type of car that she wanted. And I didn't even think about this, so I can't take credit for it. You guys know last year I did a whole segment in August on Turo, when I brought up that month of alternative ways to build streams of income, she came up with the idea of buying a new car and putting it on Turo half the month. Because fortunately for her, she still gets to work home remotely a great amount of the time. And the other time when she's not working remotely, she drives to a train station and catches a train to work. So she's like, I can Turo my car probably 10 to 14 days a month and cover the car note and have the car for when I need it the other 16 days. My daughter house hacks. You guys have heard me give this example before, where she has 5 tenants that live with her, because my daughter's mindset is she's still got that college mindset, even though she's now she's in law school. But she said, I've always had a roommate since I left my mother's house. I went to undergrad and had a roommate. When I went to grad school, I lived in New York. It was too expensive to live by myself. I had roommates. So why not have roommates now? The only difference is I'm the landlord. So she's getting her mortgage paid by other people. That's her way of grinding. Whereas our way of grinding, if you got a gray beard like me, was to get a second or third job. Nowadays, it's getting a second or third source of income. Teach your kids that hard work is still what is needed. Whether you're going to work hard with your muscles, work hard with your mind, work hard with your network. Find a way to be committed to the grind, because that work ethic, they always say that the extra mile is never crowded. So when you work hard, you are rewarded because other people aren't working that hard. So number 1 is keep it the front of your mind. Number 2 is grind. And number 3, I start everything off with the attitude of gratitude. So you know what I'm going to say. Number 3 is to be kind, charity, to give back. I can't tell you how much money I make. What portion of the money that I make as a professional comes from my being kind first, my benevolent actions. I just got finished telling you I was working with a client on a pro bono case. As a result of the kindness that I show, I tell you all the time, and I don't say this for any reason other than it's true. I send out a quarter of kindness. It comes back dressed up as $1. I always get more than I give. People who don't give, they don't believe that. They think it's a hustle. I'm not putting up charity, a 501c3 at the end of this message to get you to send $1 in. I'm not. So I have no hustle. I'm not the pastor of a church asking for collections. I am telling you, proven for me, myself, and every successful person that I consider to be on my level or above that I look up to, we spend a lot of time talking about charities. We spend a lot of times talking about giving back. I was just talking to some cats the other day. We're doing a venture, should yield 7 figures collectively, but it's a lot of people in it. So, everybody, get a couple $1 million over the course of time if this whole thing works out. And when I tell you 30% of the conversation about what was going to be done when the money comes in was about how we could fix communities, how we could do things for the church, just charity. Number 3 is to be kind. So there are your 3 tips that you should teach your children on how to make financially conscious kids. Keep them conscious and aware, sharpen their mind, teach them a healthy work ethic, teach them to grind, and teach them to look out for their fellow humans. Teach them to be kind. As Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. The more you do, the more you receive. And it is true that you cannot pour from an empty cup. So take care of yourself first, as they say on the airplanes, put your mask on first, and then be prepared to share. Because once you learn to live in that light, the reciprocity just keeps on shining on you. So with that being said, I love you all. I thank you for being here. I want you to have a great weekend. Next week, I'm going to have my brother Carl Seaton, who is a Hollywood director, NAACP Award, Image Award nominee. Currently, you can see his episodes of Bel Air that he's directed. He's Chicago PD, Chicago Fire, and a few other hits, Snowfall, too numerous to name. But my man Carl Seaton will be on the Financial Power Hour next week. Want you guys to have a great weekend. I'm going to see you on Tuesday. And remember, until then, my motto, wealth is not only for the wealthy. You guys take care and be blessed.